scientifically proven that doctors with compassion or good motivation, right, good intention, then the curing process for the patients is much better. So there are relationships between how people mentally have an intention, how things work out temporarily and emotionally. So it's even more true for spiritual practice. It's important to have that motivation. It's not worldly motivation, so to say. That the motivation is meant or in accordance with what's been explained. Right? It becomes kind of worldly effects and there's benefits. Yeah? So we also try to think that we're here in order to change our minds. Why? To achieve more happiness and eliminate suffering, and try to help others to achieve the same. And then not just temporary happiness, temporary release of suffering, but everlasting happiness for self and others, as well as full elimination of suffering of self-knowledge. So that can only be achieved at the time of Nirvana or enlightenment. So try to motivate yourself in that direction, maybe, let's say, for about a minute. Mentally try to have this intention, motivate. So then, and before we start, we do maybe a few prayers. Page number 73. So, why do we do prayers? It's very important to know. We do prayers to those who have achieved certain types of realization we also like to acquire. That's why we make prayer to a statue or prayer to a particular person who's inspiring, because we like to accomplish those similar qualities, right? So that's why we do prayer, not just mere out veneration or out much reasoning, but we make prayers in order to accomplish those qualities of mind, in order to help others, also to achieve the same. So that's why we pray. So if you want to do prayers and think that you're surrounded by different sentient beings in human aspects, and they experiencing individual sufferings, different realms, whatever understanding you have of the 6 realms of cyclic existence, and try to think they are in that nature of suffering, and for that purpose you're here, in order to liberate them from that suffering. And then in front of yourself you can visualize it, feel comfortable, something in the Buddha, or just white light in the nature of love, guidance and compassion. And then, we lead also to be in the prayer engagement. To the founder, Lama and destroyer, the one God beyond, who destroyed the complete perfect food waking being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, guarding over the world, being guided when it comes to the tent. Gives you God's human beings to you, the complete fully awakened one, now transcendent destroyer, and always conquer, to subdue from the Sakya and are certainly governing through the records. To the founder, now transcendent destroyer, the one God beyond, who destroyed the complete perfect, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, guarding over the world, being guided when it comes to the tent. These are God's human beings to you, the complete, fully awakened one, and transcendent destroyer, the always conquer, the subdue from the Sakya and prostrate and governing through the records. To the founder and transcendent destroyer, the one God beyond, who destroyed the complete, perfect, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, guarding over the world, being guided when it comes to the tent. These are God's human beings to you, the complete, fully awakened one, the non-transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, subdued from the Sakya and prostrate and governing through the records. And those supreme amongst humans who are born on this earth, the place, and set out supreme world, to you all wise and prostrate. With pure bodies, constantly make pure, with an ocean like a golden mountain. Fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best gold to you prostrate. With supreme science, placed like spotless moon, color like gold to you prostrate. Thus free like you, the 3 worlds and most incomparable wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the founder having all understanding, and the field of merit, qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one godly lessons and prostrate. The purity that frees from attachment, the virtue that frees them from the lower realms, the one path sublime pure reality. reality, Lama specifies that as true. Those who are liberated into a certain part of liberation. The holy field qualified realization is those who devote to moral precepts, to use one community and spiritual prosper. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha. To all three devote everyone homage to all worthy of respects around your bodies as many as realm and all aspects. The supreme faith that pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform non-virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. The star, the revelation, the flame of a lamp, the illusion, a drop or a dew or a bubble. The dream and flash of lightning, the sea condition, things as such. For this merits may all sentient beings attain the rank, while seeing so beautiful faults and be delivered from samsara open. I prostrate to the Arya triple gem, these are the word of one tongue. The Bhagavan was the revenue master of the mountain. They are here together with the great community of monks and the great community of bodhisattvas. Thus at that time the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration on characterized phenomena called affliction. Also at that time the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya who took on the practice of contemplation of wisdom, and beheld the tribe backwards also to empty of inner nature. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Buddha says to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokitesvara, how should any son of the lineage who trained who wishes to practice activities of contemplation of wisdom? He said in the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokitesvara says to the Venerable Buddha, Shariputra, any son of the lineage, the daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice activities of contemplation of wisdom, look upon it like this, correctly and repeating those following described actors also is empty of nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Empty is no other than form, and form is also no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, competition factors, and constant dying. Shariputra likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristics. Unproduced, unseen, stainless without staining, Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no constituent factors, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no order, no taste, no object of touch. No. There is no element up to and including no mental element, and no mental conscious element. There is no ignorance, no extension of ignorance, also including no aging and death, no extension of aging and death. Similar, there is no suffering, ordination, cessation, and fast. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas belong to dwell in perfection of wisdom. The mind without obscuration and without fear. Having completely passed beyond error, they reach the end point of Nirvana. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also manifest complete awakened, unsurpassed, perfect enlightenment and light of perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra of enlightenment, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, should be known as the truth, since it is not false. The mode of perfection is declined, Tayata, Gata Gata, Pada Gata, Pada Samgata, Bodhisattva. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva to train found perfection of wisdom like that. Then the Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokitesvara, saying, well said, Lord, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the found perfection of wisdom just as you can even nothing else. The Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokitesvara, and surrounding their entire Ling under the gods, words of the gods, humans, asuras, gandhras, the overjoyed and highly praised. I prostrate to the gathering of Nagas in the darkness and the chakras around the space by the force of clear voice and magic domination. I'm a practitioner call it for a child. Akasama is a samsara. By the teachings of the three sublime jewels possessing the power of truth, may the inner outlines be transformed, may they be dispelled, pacified, and so on. May all negative forces opposed to the Dhamma be completely pacified, and may the host of 80,000 obstacles be pacified, and may the separated problems and harmful conditions to the Dhamma, may all enjoyments be according to the Dhamma, and auspiciousness of the Dhamma. Then page 93. The foundation of both qualities is the kind of Buddha. Directly devoted to him is the rule of the paths. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to life on with great respect. Understanding that the present freedom of this rebirth is found only once, is greatly meaningful and difficult to find again. Please bless me to generate a mind of unceasing day-night essence. This life is impermanent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. After death, just like the cellar follows the body, the real still black and white cannot follow. Finding firm and definite conviction in this, please all bless me now to supplicate to abandon even the slightest negativities and accomplish all those routines. Seeking samsara pleasure is the door to pleasures, is the door to all suffering. They are uncertain, can be relied upon. Recognize these shortcomings, please bless me to generate a strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Led by the spirit thoughts, mindfulness, alertness, and great fortune arise. The root of the teaching is given by worship of the past. Please bless me to accomplish this essential practice. Just as I have fallen into the sea of samsara, so have all modern migratory beings. Please bless me to train to cities and training Supreme Bodhicitta with their responsibility for being migratory beings. Even if I have developed only Bodhicitta, but I do not practice the three types of morality, I will not achieve enlightenment. With my clear recognition of this, please bless me to practice Bodhisattva hearts with great energy. Once I have pacified distracted from all objects and correctly analyzed the meaning of reality, please bless me to generate quickly the mind stream, the unified part of common abiding and special insight. Having become a pure vessel, I training in the general part. Please bless me to enter the holy gateway of the fortunate ones, again by the agreement. At a time, the basis of accomplishing the true attainments is keeping pure vows in samaya. As we come to perfect convinced in this, please bless me to make these vows of action like my life. Then have realized the importance of two stages. Yes, it's important to state yes and part dhyana. By practicing with great energy, navigating all the 4 sessions, please bless me to realize the teaching of the Holy Guru. Like that, may the Gurus who show the noble path and his spiritual friends who practice their long lives. Please bless me to pacify completely our thinking needs. In all my lives, never separate and perfect Gurus, may I join with you sometime. By completing the quality of stages and paths, may I quickly attain the state of legend and God. And Choe the Lama preaches. So, what's the subject today? Huh? Emotional intelligence? Oh, eliminating destructive emotions, right?
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes. Focusing on this. Sometimes I forget, sometimes different talks in different places. So, yeah. Eliminating destructive emotions. So, yeah, to the full extent of Nirvana and Buddhahood, that's possible. So that's why you just recited Traita, Gata Gata, Paragata, Parasamgata, Bodhisoha. So that means, if you like to accomplish an ultimate form of happiness, a happiness that is everlasting, then you have to do some homework. It's not just merely doing prayers, it's not enough. So, it is possible to achieve Nirvana and enlightenment, and to progress on that path towards that. So that going on that path of Traita, Gata, Gata, Paragata, Parasamgata, Bodhisattva. So the last one, Bodhisattva, is referring to enlightenment. That's actually the achievement of Buddhahood. So in order to come to that achievement of Buddhahood, you have to prepare your mind. So first of all, why do we need Buddhahood? Why do we need to accomplish the state of enlightened being? That's one first question. So the need for that is because all sentient beings, humans, non-humans, they all strive for happiness and don't like suffering. Yeah, that's even true for dogs, that's even true for little insects. You know, if there's a mosquito there, and then you do like this, it flies away. Why? Because it fears some suffering, and it doesn't like suffering, so that's why it goes away. Yeah, so for humans, of course, we know from our own experience, as soon as there's a little bit of suffering, physically or mentally, it's not that, oh, let us have more suffering. That doesn't arise. The first moment that comes to mind, the first actually initial wish is to be free of it. To be free of any type of suffering, right? Or not. Yes, so, and then if we have some happiness, then we like to keep it. We don't like to lose it. Yeah? So that's a very innate wish. We all have, in that way we're all the same. All humans are exactly the same when it comes to wanting happiness, wanting suffering. Right? So if you can only think about yourself, it's just one. Only one individual who wants happiness. So every other person around you has exactly the same wish. Wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. The same strength of that wanting to accomplish that aim in life. So then two, even more. So actually two people having that same wish is actually much more important than just one. Or not? So then you have 3, 4, 5. In India, I don't know how many millions. You know how many?
1.2
huh?
billion.
How many in India?
1.2 billion.
1.2 billion. They all have the same wish, no? Then the rest of the world, human beings, 7 billion something, same wish. All want happiness, don't want suffering. So then, if you calculate also think about the animals, they have the same thing. Wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. So just working only for this one, the one you think is important, actually, it's not very logical. Because all beings have the same wish. It's not that your wish is stronger than others. It's not like that. Because we don't know others, we don't think about others, that's why we think our wish is stronger. You know? Yeah. So that wish actually has to be generated. That's kind of mind for the benefit of all sentient beings. That all sentient beings may achieve happiness and be separated from suffering. So all beings have happiness is what we call love or love and kindness. All being free from suffering means compassion. So without those thoughts, then enlightenment doesn't make sense. So that's why when we say if you want to achieve this Bodhisattva, if you want to achieve Buddhahood, you have to know why. So that's one reason that you like to accomplish, because all sentient beings want happiness and like suffering. Yeah, that's one aspect. In order to understand that more deeply, we first have to understand ourselves. What is happiness and what is suffering? So for that purpose, as we talked about yesterday, for example, a few people were in here yesterday as well. So to relate to the talk of yesterday, we talked about the Four Noble Truths, right? So the first truth is the truth of suffering. The second, the true cause of suffering. So yesterday, extensively, we went over actually what is suffering and what actually causes suffering to come about, right? So if you don't understand that yourself, then it's very difficult to have the wish for others. So it's saying if you have a problem in life and you solve it, yeah, then it's easier to help another person because you can relate to that person who has that problem. So, and if you have given up or solved the problem, then there's benefits. For example, if you were a smoker before, then you want to help somebody else to stop smoking, then you can help the person, and the person will believe you. If you smoke yourself, and then tell another person, don't smoke, it's not good for you, the person will not really take your advice, right? So, here, it's the same thing. If you don't understand the suffering yourself, it's very difficult to generate a wish for others to be free of suffering. Right? Yeah. So, that's why we have to focus upon what is suffering and how is it caused. So yesterday we went over that quite a bit, and then we came to the conclusion actually it's these destructive emotions that is causing the suffering. Because the destructive emotions like anger, attachment, jealousy, and pride, those afflictions cause our mind to be disturbed. That's one of the functions or nature of those afflictions, is that it disturbs the mind. It disturbs the peace of mind. That we talked about yesterday. And of course, based on these afflictions or destructive emotions, we act physically or verbally, because everything we do depends upon an intention, right? When you wake up in the morning, everything we do depends on the mental activity. There's always first mental activity. Now I have to get up because I have to do this and this and this. Right? So now I have to do this because of this and this and this. Now I have to say this because of this. Now I have to physically do this because of this. Everything we do is motivated with mental intention. So that's why training the mind is so essential. Yeah, so that we talked about yesterday. That's these afflictions, anger. I talked about my friend in prison who committed murder. Yeah, because he was not in control. He has this emotional hijack for 10, 15 minutes, and he committed the crime of murder. Very nice person in general, but he made a mistake. He said himself, I was not in control. So they can see all the problems in society basically are based on these mental states. It's not the individual is to be blamed, generally speaking, but the affliction in the mind of that person is seen as the problem. So, same is true when a person is drunk, yeah, or has mental problems. Then if that person acts in a particular way, we say, oh, it doesn't matter because this person is drunk or this person has this mental problem. So, but actually, if you think about every problem in daily life is created by these mental afflictions. So that's why we saw that yesterday, and also yesterday we saw the root cause of these afflictions to come about. This is ignorance, grasping at a complete higher me, based on this looks like to appear as a self that exists from its own side, without dependence. So this is called ignorance. And there's different types of ignorance. We have the ignorance of merely not knowing. For example, the owner of this building is living upstairs. So if she's now making coffee or tea, that's also for us an ignorance, right? That's an ignorance. We don't know. But it's not really on that. You freak out and you have to know it and you cannot really find it out. Then it maybe disturbs the mind. But generally speaking, she's making coffee or tea at this time. That is not really a kind of a big deal, so to say, right? It's also ignorance. But the ignorance we're talking about yesterday is a view, an incorrect view. That views that thing itself exists from its own side. Yeah, that's a view. That's not merely not knowing. It's a bit stronger. It's a view that thinks, oh, I exist from my own side. There's something that appears, as we saw yesterday, when somebody scolds you, when somebody criticizes you. Yeah, or another example, when you're almost dying. You know, if you ever have an experience of almost dying in an accident or falling off a building or something, or imagining that's happening. I had it happen to me a few times when I was young. Once we went to the beach. My brother was driving. Because in summer, what do you do in the Netherlands? You go to the beach. I mean, in those days, I don't know. You still go to the beach. It's not that often very sunny. Yeah. So he was driving, and it was a tunnel, and the sun was like a little bit low sun in the morning on the window sheet. So he was driving, so he didn't see properly, and then went into the tunnel, and it's dark. So within a few split seconds, you don't see much, right? So the tunnel was filled with cars. It was a traffic jam. So he couldn't do anything else than hit the brakes. Right? So he had the brakes and we slowly pushed to the car in front. And the only thought was, if there's a truck behind, we finished. You know? So then there's a very strong concept of I. Well, once we were swimming in Spain, hitchhiking those days, we were hitchhiking in Europe, and there was an ocean, or the sea, you know, in Portugal, West, Saint Sebastian, that is. So then we thought, oh, nobody is swimming here, let's go for a swim, you know. But we didn't know about the currents. You know? So we went into the water, and then all of a sudden my legs were just taken away by the current. You know, there's this kind of, how do you call it?
Yeah.
There's a name for that. Huh? Yeah, so then my legs were taken away and I didn't know for a few seconds what's up and down anymore. So then also that very strong eye comes up. So also when you imagine you're almost dying, yeah, then or when you fear, you know, in the middle of the night, you think the spirit actually is not, but a very strong eye that comes up. And especially when somebody criticizes you, we talked about yesterday. At that time, eye appears very concrete. Yeah? So then yesterday also we examined that an eye actually cannot exist the way it appears. Why? Because the body and mind are in the nature of the imagination. There is no place for something that exists from its own side among body and mind. Separate from body and mind is not possible. But among the two, there's no place because everything is interdependent, right? There's causality of body and mind all the time. There's no concrete eye to be found. So yesterday we saw that but this eye, to be seen as inherently existing from its own side, causes afflictions to arise. Why? Because how does this person is to me, that kind of self-importance, self-protection arises after the concrete eye is the first step. If you don't have that, we saw yesterday also, if you don't have this concrete concept of I, then those afflictions won't arise. We saw yesterday. Yeah? So the root cause of suffering is this ignorance of thinking that I exists from its own side, inherently, without dependence. Yeah? So that has to be taken away. So that we talked about yesterday. So if you understand those two aspects, suffering and the cause of suffering, well, then it's much easier to generate the wish to be free of it, isn't it? We also see the possibility to be free of suffering. Because if you take away ignorance, you take away the afflictions. If you take away the afflictions, you take away suffering. You see that? So that's a very important conclusion. So if you understand it for yourself, then it's more powerful to understand it for others. Because all the beings around us who make those problems in life, they only make the problems because of that ignorance. Because of that ignorance, they get angry, because of the ignorance attachment arises, jealousy, pride, etc. So that's why Chandagirti, one of the main Indian scholars from the Lama tradition, especially very clear scriptures when it comes to emptiness. Incredible. But instead of praising emptiness in the beginning of his text, he praises compassion. Very inspiring. Why? Because why are we studying emptiness? For the benefit of sentient beings, to help sentient beings to free of suffering. Very, very powerful. So, very skillful. And then he talks about 3 types of compassion in the beginning of his text. So, those things are very important to know that what kind of compassion we're talking about. So he said, one compassion, so the compassion is for sentient beings to be free of suffering. Right? That's the definition of compassion. May all sentient beings, without exception, be free of suffering. So, without exception is very important thing. Yeah? So, because we easily generate love and kindness and compassion towards those people we like. We cherish our ego or something like that. So, our friends, so to say. And so that's why that is mixed with attachment. That kind of compassion. That's not real, a genuine form of compassion. Yeah, so if you say, well, all sentient beings be free of suffering except this one, you know, then that's a sign you don't have the real understanding of compassion generated. Yeah, so without exceptions means all sentient beings have exactly the same wish. A person who is not nice to you, that comes to the power of the afflictions in the mind of that person. Right? It's not the person is bad, but the person is not in control as an emotional item. So it should generate kind of compassion for that person, even more than towards our friends. So, that being the case, we have to have compassion for all sentient beings without exception. Yeah, so the three types of compassion Chandakirti is referring to is the compassion of understanding the suffering. As we talked about yesterday, the suffering and the suffering of change, for example. Yeah. By understanding those types of suffering and generate a wish, may all sentient beings without exception be free of suffering. Right? So that's the first compassion. Yeah. So the second one is a compassion that understands the impermanent nature of sentient beings. So if you, like everything around us, which is called a compounded phenomena, or is called Ling, everything around us, so we have two phenomena. We have permanent and impermanent phenomena, right? So impermanent means momentary changing. For example, this table, this mic, this building, is momentary changing, right? It changes every second, or every split seconds. Our body and mind is changing moment by moment, right? It's not one day we wake up and we look in the mirror and all of a sudden we're 60 years older. If that's going to happen, it's pretty much of a shock. So luckily that change happens second by second. Yeah? So like this center has just recently been renovated and we paint on the wall, a beautiful floor, and it looks all spacious. Yesterday I was walking there and I almost got lost. So anyway, it's like, but now it looks so new, you know. But actually the paint, the moment you put it on the wall, it starts disintegrating. Right? Same with the car, the paint, as soon as it's been put up, it starts disintegrating. It's not that one day, oh, the paint is peeling off. That's not that happened in one day, right? It's a process. So our body and mind also are momentarily changing. As we said yesterday, the moment you'll be born, you walk towards death. And not that you want to die as soon as possible, but you're going to die. Yeah, so same as if you have a clock, here is only minutes. If you have a clock with seconds, you know, or split seconds, you know, it goes very fast. It's very powerful. Look, clock. Meditate, like, oh, another minute close to death. Another minute close to death, you know. It's very powerful. Because that's true. We're going to die. You know? It's not a big deal because we died so many times. So we just get a new body, that's it. But for us to motivate ourselves is very powerful. If you don't think, oh, I'm not going to die for another, you know, I don't know how many years, then people not really think about spirituality. So that process is very beneficial to think about. Why? Because, I said yesterday, people with a near-death experience, for example, most cases, 80–90% of the cases, people change their life in a very positive way. Become spiritual, they interest in materialistic things, worldly affairs, disappears. That's the benefit of thinking about death and permanence. One of my friends, very rich, I mentioned yesterday about astrology, I don't know. Sometimes I mention this example. So he's very good in astrology, so he made a lot of money. A few boats and houses and everything. Then one day he had a car accident. Luckily he had a very good car. So he didn't die, but death woke him up. And actually, one day, it's all over. And then he became a spiritual person. So that's why thinking about death and birth is very, very beneficial. So then, everything is momentarily changing, right? Our body and mind. So, then Chandakirti said the second level of compassion, yeah, is a compassion that thinks about the momentary nature of suffering of sentient beings. Because it has realized, as a person who has realized impermanence. Yeah, so, for us, we have to use all kind of reasonings to convince ourselves we're actually impermanent. We have to look in the mirror and then look at the picture when we're 60 and then reason, oh, there's a change. That change happens moment by moment. Yeah, we have to think about it. Because often we think about, oh, it's same today, it's same tomorrow, and then put up some cream, or you pop a few pills, or you put some shampoo, and then you don't get grey and you don't get wrinkles, and that's what certain, you know, people in commercial kind of, on the commercials you can see, people who sell these products, they play with our afflictions. They play with our grasping to permanence, because we don't like change. We don't like to get wrinkles, we don't like to get grey hair. And then the first time you get that one grey hair and you take it out or something, but actually then after some time you cannot take it out anymore because you have to take out so many hairs. You know? So that you gonna change is a given. Yeah? So if you want to stop that process, that's not possible. How many pills you pop, you cannot stop the process of decay. So, yeah, and if you believe and understand the permanence, it's less suffering. So what? You have a few grey hairs, a few wrinkles, that's the nature of samsara, right? So there's no big deal. So when Kensei Rinpoche Lobsang said it, we came here in the center many years ago. So then we took him to the guest house. One of those things somewhere else, a big mirror. He doesn't have a mirror, etc. So we looked in the mirror, didn't look at the mirror sometimes, and he was 83, I think. So we looked in the mirror and said, oh, I'm getting old. You know? But yeah, there's no shock, because they know, right? Yeah, so that's important. So if you understand that every sentient being, yeah, actually, we here are quite comfortable. It's a bit warm, but with fan and it's quite comfortable. But among the 7 billion people in this world, or the 1 point something in India, it's suffering. Yeah? Hunger, thirst, sickness, missing people or dying, not being taken care of anymore. So much suffering. So that's every second. It's not that it's just, oh, we see it and now it's there and then we don't think about it, it's not there. No. Every second, sentient beings are suffering. So understand that nature based on the realization of impermanence. You can imagine that compassion becomes much stronger than the previous one. You just merely think about the suffering, but now understand every second sentient beings are suffering. So now it's time to liberate them. So that's compassion is much stronger, right? So that's the second type of compassion of time. Very powerful one. Yeah. So then he goes a step further. He says, not only every second sentient beings are suffering, but they're suffering by the root cause of ignorance. You know? So this root cause of ignorance has to be taken away and can be taken away. So by having understood emptiness, and in particular the realization of emptiness, you see, you have a very clear insight in reality that oneself and all sentient beings are suffering because of ignorance. And that ignorance is a wrong form of consciousness, and it can be taken away. So by that understanding, generate compassion for all sentient beings even more profound. Right? As Holiness says often, if you think about emptiness a lot, it looks like liberation is possible. Why? Because if you take away ignorance, then afflictions don't arise. If afflictions don't arise, you don't create negative karma in the form of negative deeds. Right? If there's no anger, no attachment, no jealousy and pride that comes up anymore, then it's pretty much a peaceful kind of state. So then by understanding this ignorance, not only how it causes suffering, but also understand that ignorance is a wrong form of consciousness, incorrect consciousness, which you can eliminate with the correct form of consciousness, then generating perpetual thinking is even more profound. So yesterday we saw also that wrong forms of consciousness, like in the dream, yeah, can be taken away. Yeah? So you have this dream and then you think it's reality, but actually it's not. So same with ignorance. It looks like it's reality, but actually it's not. It doesn't exist the way it appears. Yeah? So in a dream, also you have a bad dream, you wake up, you wash your face, and then you have a drink, your water, and then think, oh, it's just a dream. Then you get rid of that wrong form of consciousness, right? Yeah? Or you see in the dark, you see something moving, and you think it's a spirit, but then actually it's just the wind, and you reason, oh, it's the wind, so it's not a spirit. So by the power of reasoning, you cut down that wrong form of consciousness, right? So here, the same thing. If you understand the afflictions, And you see that also the afflictions by themselves are infinite of consciousness. But we believe them. You know, like anger, for example, only sees the faults of its object. With a person you get angry at, you don't like to see qualities. Only the faults. But a person has qualities. Then when our person says, no, this person also does this well and that well. And no, not true, you see. You know? Because you only focus on the faults. Yeah? So that's also not a correct form of consciousness. Same with attachment. Attachment only sees the qualities of its object. Just like the faults. So as with food, as with persons. So love at the first sight, those kind of things in life. That actually is not first sight, because since the beginning of this lifetime we've met so many beings already. And then you only see qualities of that object, and you don't see the faults. And then slowly you start to have a relationship, and then slowly you start to see faults. And then it breaks up again, and starts something over. So you can see that actually the attachment, same with food as we talk about. You see the qualities, don't think about it. If you eat too much, you get upset stomach and everything, and mind gets dull the next day. So, then you can see, attachment only likes to see the qualities of its object, and doesn't like to see the faults. Same for an addiction. Addiction that, if I have now my cigarette, or now some grass to smoke, or this or that, then I'll be happy. But that's just a temporary misunderstanding of reality. That overestimates the qualities and doesn't like to see the drawbacks. Same with all types of drugs. It's all the same thing. I don't have that much experience, but a little bit. Because in Holland it was always... was like, now you can walk in Amsterdam without smoking on the, next to the coffee shops. You just have a few deep breaths and you get it for free. In the early days you had to give a little bit money and then all these things. So then you think, well, it brings happiness, but actually on the long term it didn't bring happiness. Because it's temporary. So it is not the real cause for happiness. So it's all those things. So we went to all night long parties. Now if I try to meditate or read a book all night long, I just go to bed and sleep. But in those days, from evening till morning, 9, we went to one place at 4 and they closed down because they didn't have a permit, and we went to another spooky place in the morning, 8 or 9 o'clock, and then all night long dancing and kind of things. And then you see habituation. We went to Rotterdam because it was my parents' place, and we went in the morning with the train back. Every sound of the train was the same tune as the all night long boom, boom, boom. So it's like, you see the habituation carry on, and then you're tired, of course. You sleep, and then you wake up, and then you're dull. It's not the real cause of happiness. So then after some time I didn't take drugs anymore. No alcohol, no smoking, just water. This spa. Spa is kind of bubble water together. So they would drink that and all night long dancing. But still, that didn't bring happiness. So then, luckily, I got into this kind of interest in these kind of things. And then that's much more, much more, satisfaction. Kind of real type of happiness, not like a temporary thing, and then it goes the other. It's like this change, right? Because it's contaminated happiness. Yesterday, we talked about changeable suffering, right? Remember? So it's too hot in the sun, you go to the shade. If the shade is too cold, you go in the sun again. If you're hungry, you eat too much. And then, it's changed all the time. So, same thing. It's changed into suffering. It's not a real form of happiness, those worldly things. Because the real form of happiness comes from the mind. So it comes from mental training. Yeah, so then, this view of compassion for the benefit of all sentient beings, from the point of view of understanding emptiness, as Chandra quickly said, the third one, remember? There's 3, right? So, contemplating the suffering of sentient beings, understanding or realization of impermanence, and then focus upon the suffering of sentient beings. They're suffering every single second. Is even more strong. Then the third one is much stronger than that. It's when you have a realization of emptiness, then understand the suffering much better. And also the possibility to free sentient beings from ignorance. Because also every sentient being, that's why there's many texts called the Lamrim, or the stages of the path to enlightenment. So there's a very interesting manual that actually prepares the students from beginning until enlightenment is achieved. What do you have to meditate upon? That's a very good instruction. So then there's one master from the Kagyu tradition, Gompopa, one of the students of Geshe Milarepa, the great Tibetan yogi who lived in the mountains and achieved enlightenment in that particular lifetime. And that's a very interesting story because he was not a monk, he was a lay person, and he did a lot of bad things in life. He killed more than 30 people in his life. So then he generated so much regret and found the Guru and practiced well and achieved enlightenment in that lifetime. So there's great potential of the mind is there. And so then one of his own students, he composed also one of these Lamrim texts. And then, very interesting, if you study his Lamrim, it starts with Buddha potential. Very powerful. If we want to become a Buddha, then we have to go different stages, right? As we talk about a little bit now. But he started with the potential to become a Buddha is within us. So very interesting. So we have also potential to achieve enlightenment. Why is that so? Because the afflictions in our mind, they're not an innate part of the mind. Right? It's like the clouds just temporarily obscure the blue sky. But they're not one with the blue sky. You take a plane and you go above the clouds, the blue skies are blue, right? So they're not mixed together. They're not an innate part of the blue sky. So our afflictions, or destructive emotions, anger, attachment, jealousy, and pride, they're not an innate part of the mind itself. They're just temporarily there. They come up by certain conditions, people say something, and they disappear. So they're just temporarily there. The blue sky is still there. So our mind, the ultimate nature of our mind, is not changeable. Because the ultimate nature of the mind is empty of inherent existence. That's one aspect of the mind. So it's there since beginner's lifetime. So unfortunately, until the present, we never really have realized that potential in our mind. So that's, if you realize the potential in the mind, the empty of inherent existence, then you develop this Buddha potential. There's two Buddha potentials. One is Buddha potential by nature, and one is Buddha potential that has to be developed. So this Buddha potential by nature is within us since beginner's lifetime. Because we have a mind that can be made extremely subtle, and with its empty of inherent existence, and that most subtle mind goes all the way up to Buddhahood, and that it's free of any states, it's free of any afflictions. It's just temporary. It's true, no? Sometimes our mind is more peaceful, then we read something, or we hear something, and then the mind gets disturbed. So that's a sign that innate, there's a kind of big potential. So that is true for the ultimate nature of the mind, because the mind by itself is empty of inherent existence. Right? So it's the ultimate nature of the mind. But it's also true from the point of view of constructive emotions, like compassion, love and kindness. Not only humans, but also other forms of life, they have this kind of natural inclination towards love and kindness and compassion. So this project, we had one Mind and Life Institute conference in Sera quite some years ago, a few years ago actually. And Major Ricard, one of the first very long-term Western monk in the Ling tradition, very close disciple of Dilgo Khyentse. So he showed a very interesting video. He wrote a very nice thick book about altruism as well. Very interesting. So he showed a video of two children, baby newborn. I think they were 9 months old or something. And they looked at a cartoon on the TV set, And there was like two cartoon figures. One was very nasty, always making troubles and pushing others and, bumping against others, always angry. And the other cartoon personality was very peaceful and helpful and helped people out. You know. So they looked at the TV screen for a few minutes, and then they were shown two teddy bears who looked exactly the same as the teddy bears in the cartoon. And like 90-something% of the newborn children, so the newborn children, only 9 years old, they don't have the conceptualities like we have talking about things. No. They choose, more than 90% choose the individual who was nice to others. You know, they were given the teddy bears and they have to choose the one that was on the cartoon, the nice person. Very interesting. Then there's another research, it's not a very nice research, but it proves something. It's like with monkeys. There was two groups of monkeys, not related with each other. So then they were a little bit, for them the only way to get food was to crash the bars, and then food would not come, and they were eating. So there was a glass between this group and the other group. So then when one monkey was hungry, he pressed the bar and the food. So then as soon as he started to press the bar, one monkey of the other group got an electric shock. Not a very intense one, but something that shows the aspect of suffering. So after a few times, this monkey from the other group started to realize that what he's doing is actually creating over suffering. And actually he stopped, to a certain extent, stopped pressing the bar and chose to be hungry instead of harming the other person or harming the other monkey. Very interesting. So that's an innate proof that all sentient beings deep inside have this compassion. You know, very interesting. So that's another kind of potential that we can generate. So that's another aspect of potential to ability to generate it more. It's there by nature, of course. Holiness also mentioned these issues quite often. So then another positive thing of potential is we can purify negative deeds, right? Together with the seeds. And so if you do something negative or positive, there's two aspects. It goes and plants it into a seed or a potential in the mind. Yeah? Same with our consciousness. Yeah? If you look at something, at the altar, and you look the other direction, when you close your eyes, you can still imagine, oh, the altar looks like this and that. Why? Because you have seen it, and that eye consciousness perceiving that object stops to exist, but it leaves a potential in the mind. That's why we can remember things, right? So every mental activity, as it ceases to exist, a particular thought process stops. It leaves potential in the mind that we can recall. The more you habituate yourself to a particular pattern, that puts more seeds in the mind, so that it will be easier to be recalled. For example, if you study a book of a different topic like quantum mechanics or something, and you put it aside for some time, you forget. Many things you forget. So then, but when you read it again, it comes much quicker. Why does it come much quicker? Because of the habituation we built up before. Right? So the more habituation we build up with positive states of mind, the easier it will become. That's one aspect as well to understand. So that's true for positive things, and that's true for negative things. Negative deeds can be purified by the power of regrets, by the power of reliance. Yeah, so we talked about a little bit yesterday. So with this purification process, without having realized emptiness, what you can purify is the potential for the result to come about, to be purified. With emptiness, you can purify even the seeds of a negative deed. Totally eliminate the potential for the result as well as the seeds. Right? With positive potentials, if you do something positive, that can be destroyed by negative states of mind, like anger. In the sense, you take away the potential for the result to come about. But the root cause of virtue, or the seeds, cannot be destroyed. So that means that the root cause of virtue actually cannot be destroyed. But the root cause of negative deeds can be destroyed. So that means there's a great potential possible for us to develop. That's a very important thing to know, that you can, with emptiness, eliminate all ignorance together with its seeds. right? And getting angry or generating attachment, you can destroy, it's possible, positive potentials, but not the seeds of virtue. Very interesting. I find it give me some hope, because sometimes you train your mind and then you can practice patience quite well with most people, then a new person comes into your life and it's a very big challenge. So you see there's still anger there, but it's possible. Things help us. Yeah. So Chandrakirti has these three types of compassion. So the compassion of understanding the suffering, not only understanding the suffering, based on the momentary changing nature of impermanence, as all sentient beings are suffering every second. Right? And then the third form of compassion, of the having realized emptiness, and then see the potentials for sentient beings to be free of suffering. Okay, you see that? That's very powerful. Compassion. So that's why, because of that reason, most bodhisattvas, bodhisattva means a person who dedicates his or her life for the benefit of all sentient beings, without exception. Yeah, that's what bodhisattva. Bodhi means the mind of enlightenment. Yes. Sattva is mind, right? So it's kind of person or heroic being that works for the benefit of all sentient beings. So, based on this kind of motivations, so most bodhisattvas, they realize emptiness before generating bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the mind of enlightenment. Bodhi, enlightenment, citta, mind. So the bodhisattva is the person, bodhicitta is the mind, a mind that wishes all sentient beings to be free of suffering, and for that purpose, that person likes to become a Buddha. So if you want the free all sentient beings from suffering, you have to have certain qualifications. If you want to be a good doctor, you have to study, you have to get experience in the field of medication, right? So here, same thing. So you have to develop. So that's why these bodhisattvas, most of them, even before entering the paths, they realize emptiness. So yesterday we talked about emptiness, and I said, oh good, nobody's falling asleep, nobody's walking out of the room. That's a good sign that you have interest and you have some good imprint of the capacity to think about emptiness. Most people, when you talk about emptiness, they fall asleep. Or they find it difficult to concentrate, or they walk out of the room or whatsoever. Because there are so many obstacles, because this emptiness is like the atomic bomb that is going to bombard all the causes for suffering. So that's why it's a very powerful meditation. So most bodhisattvas, they realize emptiness before generating bodhicitta. So bodhicitta is a mind that wishes to become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. So this mind is being generated based upon compassion and loving kindness. Right? It doesn't come all by itself. So that's the whole sequence of training. And I said also today that, without exception, I said, remember, otherwise we say, may all sentient beings become enlightened, except this one, because I don't like this person. Right? So that exception should not be there. And so how do we prevent that exception from coming into being? By meditating on equanimity. That's actually the first step in generating loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta. Equanimity, seeing all sentient beings as equal, as the same, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. So this is the first step, equanimity. And so there's many techniques we went over many times. Maybe now there's a few new people here, but so equanimity means you imagine three persons in your daily life, right? A friend, a person you have an indifferent feeling to, like a person you saw walking on the street, and a person you dislike, right? So those three individuals you imagine or visualize in front of yourself and analyze. Why and how does a person I like is a person I love? And even during time, that person is going to change. Same with relationships, right? We have this, this is my new partner or something like that, and then after some time you start to see faults, and then it becomes an end. Right? It happens, So even during time, friends, they change into enemies. But the person might be exactly the same. didn't change. But just how you view that person changed. So then, what is your dearest friend, somebody else might dislike that person. Possible, no? Like, there's many people, even as Holiness Dalai being respected so well, but there are individuals who don't like the Dalai, right? Or for ourselves, we have many friends, but also other people who dislike us. But the individual is actually the same. Some people like person A, and other people hate person A. The person A is the same, right? So, in that way, you learn actually how to see that the person we like is not an innate part of that person. It's just how we see that person in a particular light or a particular way. Yeah? So that's also true for a person on the street. Yeah, a person on the street we never met before, we have indifferent feeling. Not in which that person happiness or suffering and so on. We don't think about it. But when that person becomes a friend, then yeah, everything changes. Right? But the person didn't change, our attitude, our appearance. Same as a person on the street says something and you see that as negative, maybe it's not, then it becomes kind of an enemy. Same person, right? So that's also true for our enemy. Sometimes, or it's a heavy word, but a person we dislike, maybe out of incorrect understanding, there's a problem, you know, then we solve it and then it becomes best friends. Because you dislike an issue, it can become one of your best friends. So, and that's to world leaders. It's not only on an individual level, that's everywhere. You know? So, that's why we meditate on equanimity, to see all those street people. It's just from our own experience that we say. You know? If you meditate on this well, it will help your understanding of dependent origination. You know? That there's no from its own side an existing friend or enemy or stranger. It doesn't exist. It's just the dependence. You say that what I said yesterday, quantum mechanics is not that the subatomic particles exist out there from their own side. No, there's a relation between the subatomic particles and that's in relation with the observer. There's so many causes and conditions. So it's same true for the people in our daily life. It depends on so many causes and conditions. How we perceive them. Yeah. So that is helping also the understanding of dependent ordination. And if your understanding of dependent ordination becomes stronger, then also your understanding of emptiness becomes stronger. Because the king of reasoning to prove emptiness is dependent ordination. Yeah. So then, equanimity, then that's the first step. So then we have to have a close feeling with people, with all beings without exception. So how do we get to a close feeling with friends, enemies, and strangers? That's the next step. Because if we feel close to people, it's very easy to generate compassion for them. So that's why when you meet His Holiness always meeting so many people, and if people who dislike His Holiness always says, I feel close to this person. It's a sign His Holiness has this equanimity. You know? So then also we have to try to generate that we should see all sentient beings as equal, without exception, and pay attention to those individuals. So His Holiness, when His Holiness was in the US one day, very interesting story, that I think it was Obama or the previous, Trump, Bush I think, Trump, His Holiness never met. No? I don't know why, but anyway, so then he met Bush, I think he had to go, so we had to go to a college student kind of meeting, and there was a few questions from students. And the security was already pushing His Holiness to go because we had to meet with the president. So then His Holiness said, if I don't answer the question of the student and I make a discriminating factor between this is just a student and the president is waiting, then I cannot call myself His Holiness Dalai Lama. Very interesting. He didn't see that it's because two human beings want to happiness. So if you have that kind of understanding of equanimity, then it becomes very powerful. So next step is to generate a close feeling to all sentient beings. So a close feeling to sentient beings only happens when they do something for us. So then we try to think that all those sentient beings around us, if you think about reincarnation, it becomes very easy. I mean, it doesn't become very easy, but it becomes easier. So since beginner's lifetime, as we talked about yesterday, the continuity of consciousness, the proof of consciousness does not have to depend on brain and those things we talked about yesterday quite a bit, right? So don't have to do today. So then, since beginner's lifetime, our continued consciousness has taken so many births. And all the births we have taken, you know, most of them needs kind of a womb. Needs really to be born from a mother. And so you can reason that since beginner's lifetime, there's no exception to be made that all sentient beings, at least once, has been our mother. Right? If you really think about it, beginner's lifetime. So, because in 2 lifetimes, there's 2 mothers, right, generally speaking, because the mother of our present lifetime was already there when we just in our previous lifetime. And the previous lifetime was a different mother, right? So there's 2 lifetimes, 2 mothers, 2, 3. You know, so you can think about it. Or if your mother, like, you know, couldn't take care and somebody else took care of you, still in the beginning, the mother for the first months has to take care of, otherwise you die. Right? So you think that all sentient beings have been at least once your mother. That's the next step. And then the 3rd step is to see that they be so kind. Because the mother is so kind. You know, to make you a baby born, they have to have a particular diet, think about their movements, and so many things. And then the whole thing of birth, you know, it's very intense. I've never produced a baby because I'm male, but if you think about, you know, how much suffering is involved in giving a baby birth. So they're taking care of so many hardships just for us. Sometimes we don't realize the kindness of our mother or the kindness of beings who took care of us. Or they're cooking food and then, no, I don't like this. I remember I was very very naughty one night. My mother so much suffering. And brother also was very similar. Once we were at the holiday need a beach tent, and my mother made something, and then we were not very happy with the meal. And my brother got even so agitated that he jumped on the table and put his fork in the roof, and it's just cotton, you know, so the whole hole. Yeah. So now I have a little one monastery in the orphan, take care of when he came here, it's fine. So then sometimes you do so much for this little one, and then he doesn't like it. Or you think, okay, now I take him to Mysore for a holiday, you know, let him go swimming in one of those parks or something. Then complaints. So much hassle, so much thing you go through. And then I started realizing how much difficulty actually I give to my own mother. You know, so kind. They start to realize how incredibly kind they are. So then, in this sequence of thinking equanimity, think all sentient beings as your mother, remembering the kindness, next step. So then remembering the kindness. So there's not only this mother in this life, but all mothers since beginner's lifetime, all sentient beings. And he's so kind. Otherwise we die, you know, if we don't have to take care of the mother, a baby born just try to walk and walks off the railing and that's it. So there's no protection. So thanks to the kindness of all those mothers, you reflect. And then next step is the wish to repay the kindness. You know. So then the close feeling arises. To all sentient beings. Then after that, love and kindness generated. Then you see all sentient beings so close. Then you meditate on compassion and the suffering of all sentient beings. Then compassion can become very strong. And then because the compassion is so strong, you have to do something. So that's the difference between compassion and, for example, empathy. So it's very interesting research been done by Eve Ekman, the daughter of Paul Ekman, you know, the one who wrote a few books about facial expressions. Paul Ekman, very interesting personality. And he pinpointed down like 10,000 muscular, subtle differences in the face in all cultures, in different places in the world, and related with afflictions. Very interesting. Yeah. So now he and his daughter, they working on this emotional mapping, or mapping the mind. I don't know how far they reached, but it's very interesting.
He made a movie for children.
Huh?
He made a movie for children.
So Eve Ekman I met once here in Bangalore during a conference about neuroscience. We had a conference. Niemans, no? Yeah. So she had to give a presentation, I also had to give a presentation. There were some hardcore neuroscientists as well. Some discussions with them. Hardcore in the sense, materialistic, they didn't really accept the view, the concept of consciousness. I met some other very open-minded as well, very interesting. Anyway, so then she gave a presentation and she did some research, the difference between empathy and compassion. For example, in the healthcare, so you many research in healthcare, people who see a lot of suffering, but don't know how to deal with it, they feel the suffering themselves. That's what's called empathy. And there's a lot of stress, burnout, and depression. So then she did research that in relation with compassion. So compassion is a mind that's clear, that wants to do something, and motivates oneself for that purpose. Then she said that people have this mindset, they walk for it, if it always comes out the way they're planning to or not, is not a question. It's so strongly motivated to this compassion. And then there's much less burnout, much less stress, and much less kind of depression. Interesting. So people with more compassion, it's true, Even I saw some research done by, yesterday I mentioned the name of Daniel Brown from Howard Medical School. It's mentioned in one of the books of Daniel Coleman called Emotional Healing, I think. Not Emotional Intelligence, but Healing Emotions. Yeah, that book, Healing Emotions. So in that book actually it says that, for example, the post-traumatic stress disorder almost doesn't exist among Tibetans. So depends, a few of them, I mean quite a few, they've been tortured in prison for decades, almost dying, or eating the leftovers outside being discarded on surface hunger. They will be eating, I heard stories, eating the leather of the shoe, because there's no food in prison, or being beaten up, or electric, with, people still want to the present, they can't use their body properly anymore, because it's still they've been tortured so much. But there's no stress disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, almost doesn't exist. So then it's also asked the question, why? So one possibility is this compassion. If you have this compassion for the Chinese soldiers, because they create so much negative deeds by the power of their afflictions, if you're in prison or not, if you cannot change the situation, then you have to deal with your mind, right? If you can't do something in a situation, escape prison or make sure that the soldier doesn't torture you anymore. If that's possible, you do that. If you cannot do that anymore, you have to only deal with the mind. So then they're capable of training the mind in a way there's no mental suffering. There's only physical suffering. That's much easier to deal with. So then also this post-traumatic stress disorder almost exists among those who torture to be in prison. And then probably one of the reasons is this compassion. Another reason, as Holiness gave, is the understanding of law of causality. Everything comes about by cause and conditions. So the suffering you experience, you have created in the past, in previous lifetimes. So now, by experiencing this, that gets purified. So that's different kind of mind trainings people use. One of my own classmates, so halfway through the studies, he said, I'm going to visit my parents because I didn't see them for 10 years. And I just give it a try. So he went back home. He was imprisoned for a few months and beaten up quite a bit. And then he was released, or escaped, then they walk over the mountains, very dangerous. At night, because during the day, the Chinese officials can do something. Anyway, so then he came back to the monastery and asked him to have him. He said, I was 1 month with my parents and it was quite nice. Then the Chinese took me, put me in prison for a few months and they beat me up and everything. He said, I just have to rest, have some good food for a few weeks and I go back to the studies. So that's, I had this problem, people did this to me, that to me, this and that. Not very interesting. So they will see, because the more self-cherising attitude gives actually more suffering. So that's what I'm saying. If you can, it doesn't mean that we have to say it's all okay what people do to us. That's not what I'm saying. Because we can, if we can, if it's in our capacity to say something and to change the situation, to prevent problems from happening, we should do, right? But our attitude, if we cannot do it, like my friend yesterday mentioned in the traffic in the Netherlands, always getting angry, but he cannot change the traffic, so he can only deal with his own mind, you know. So then, instead of getting angry with his more suffering, he now laughs about it, and the difficult situation externally you cannot change. So then you have to deal with the mind, right? So that's the important thing to be known, that if you can change external things that have to be changed, or has to be changed, then you can do that. Right? But if it's not within your capacity, then the only thing to do is to deal with the mind. So that's the context of the instruction. Yeah, so that's why, yeah. So then, equanimity, first step. Yeah? All sentient beings as equal. Then, seeing all sentient beings as your mother, remembering the kindness, repaying the kindness, or the wish to repay the kindness. Then love and kindness, and bodhicitta, compassion. So then, compassion arises. I have to liberate them. Then those three compassions we just talked about, which are the 15, yeah, focus about. They're suffering, they're momentary suffering, and they're suffering because of ignorance, and they can be released by the power of emptiness. Right? So then, compassion is very strong. Then you generate the mind, I have to do something. Can I do something now or not? Next question. It's very logical. So then you see your own capacity is not very, you're not very capable. Like for example, people like Dalai Lama, what they can do for people, Lama Zopa, something like that, what they can do for people. So being quite, first it's a bit more difficult. But if you develop yourself and develop this Buddha potential, then you can do so much more. So then you generate a mind, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Which benefits? To release them from suffering. And that's what we call bodhicitta. That you want to accomplish that state. Enlightenment for the purpose of sentient beings. So, yeah. So that's not only eliminating destructive emotions for yourself, but eliminating destructive emotions for others. So I thought yesterday we talked about mainly elimination of destructive emotions for yourself. So maybe today I thought do a little bit a vaster aspect. Otherwise, a few people said it yesterday evening, and then it might be like a tape recorder. For me, it's always difficult because some people are new, some people you come a bit longer, and then if I make it make it too simple, then people who already come in here for so long, they get bored. And then if I make it too complex, then you can dive in different aspects of the philosophies of the view of ignorance and emptiness, and then people who are new, they start to walk away, fall asleep. So for me, it's always difficult to build a bridge. So if I make any mistakes, then it's sorry. So then, yeah. Yeah, maybe there's samosa.
So they can come and enjoy.
Yeah. So we have a break, maybe 10, 15 minutes. Some tea. Samosa. So 10 minutes break.